Moazzam Begg's life story has taken him from the depths of Guantánamo, where his detention blocks, to the front lines of global protest movements. As a former detainee turned human rights advocate, his voice resonates in debates about justice, civil liberties, and state power. And now, on his current visit to South Africa, he's ready to speak on it all. Moazzam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and Jazakumullah khairan for joining us on Radio Islam.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and barakallah fikum for inviting me and having me here.
Before we get into the other discussions, you survived one of the most controversial detention facilities in modern history without ever being charged. That experience, how has it shaped your worldview and your activism today?
Alhamdulillah, it's been, we're talking about more than 20 years now since I've been released. The sort shocking part is that Guantanamo is still open. And the way that I've managed to kind of channel any of that, the issues that came as a result of it, is to look at the cases of other prisoners, most of whom got it far worse rather than I have. And people being released around the world after 20 years, 15 years, 18 years, 19 years. And indeed, the case of Abu Zubaydah and others who are still in Guantanamo, who have suffered unbelievable torture, even compared to what I've seen, and that they still remain imprisoned without charge or trial. And the fact that Abu Zubaydah is a stateless Palestinian for whom the entire torture program was developed makes me feel that I actually had a very easy time compared to these guys.
Now, you're currently here in South Africa, I believe, at a time when debates around human rights, war, and global justice are intensifying. What's the main message you want South Africans to hear from you right now?
Well, South Africa has always been a place that's quite special in terms of its own past and how it's dealt with the trauma of apartheid and the abuse against different people and segregation and so forth. But we're seeing a return of different types of racism, of apartheid. We've seen it in Palestine and in Gaza repeatedly, even before the genocide was taking place. And we're seeing it in the rise of the far right in the UK and in Europe, and of course in the United States of America. I know South Africa has different problems and so forth, and there are fears here, but we look at South Africa almost as a place where you can have a breath of fresh air, we can actually breathe and to be able to speak about these issues relatively well and easily without fearing the types of things that you are now beginning to fear in the rest of the world.
And looking back at the UK, we've seen protests and lengthy hunger strikes tied to Palestinian action and other movements where state power has responded with arrest and bans. We've seen, former Guantanamo Bay detainees like yourself that everyone voiced support for these actions. What do you see as the moral and strategic arguments for such protests, and where, if at all, should the line be drawn?
Recently, Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, just said that these rules-based order and systems isn't real. It's a lie. It only has ever applied to countries that are poor, that are not strong, and it's never applied to strong and powerful countries. And the United States is definitely one of them, and so is its proxy, Israel. And when they are carrying out war crimes that have been charged at the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice, led by South Africa, it means nothing. And as I said, these types of things, Britain's role in arming, training, sponsoring, and excusing the genocide has been evident. You have 16 factories in Britain that are run by ex-IDF officers, that are staffed by ex-IDF officers, and produce weapons in Britain, on British soil, for a country that is carrying out a plausible genocide. And so these activists who went in and smashed the drones and so forth that create that havoc in Gaza are being charged as and dealt with as terrorists. And the ridiculous nature of that is that thousands of ordinary white English people have been arrested for terrorism, amongst them me. And that is not for doing anything except for holding a placard that says, I support Palestine action, I oppose genocide. Now, the opposite is true. If you'd said, I oppose Palestine action and I support genocide, that's not an arrestable offense, which is the bizarre, nonsensical nature of British lawmaking right now.
And finally, Moazzam, we don't have, we would like to speak to you for much longer, but with rising global polarization and clampdowns on dissent in countries across the world, what would you say gives you hope and what keeps you awake at night?
Oh, that's a really tough question. Many things keep me awake at night. Many things. It's hard to think where to, uh, Gaza, Sudan, Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen. They all keep me awake at night. And the rise of the far right in the UK keeps me awake at night. It is quite palpably, you can feel the rise of the racism. And what gives me hope is my faith, my Iman, my Islam, my Deen, the fact that people are turning to it despite everything. I see examples of great fortitude in Gaza despite the terror and the horror they faced. I've seen examples of it in Syria, examples in Afghanistan, and even in the UK, and then even here in South Africa. I have to say, the welcome that we always receive from people, the love, the care, is phenomenal. The hospitality of people over here, their love for Muslims and Muslim issues and causes. Though you're so far away from everything, you're almost next to the Antarctic, and yet you are so connected and care about the issues of the Ummah here. And so that's my experience has been that of South Africa, that it gives me hope.
Moazzam, Jazakumullah khairan so much for taking out your time and joining us on Radio Islam International. It's always a pleasure to have you on the airwaves of Radio Islam International, and keep up with the fantastic work that you are doing.
Barakallah feek. May Allah bless you and keep you safe, inshallah, and grant you the
Ameen.
best in this akhirah.
Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
6 minutes to 6.